This story was sent to us by a viewer named Ryan. It took place a few years ago when he and 4 of his friends went on a deep woods camping trip in the remote mountains of Oregon. We often think we can trust the people our friends bring into our circle, but Ryan's experience is a chilling reminder that sometimes a single stranger can turn a vacation into a fight for survival. It was late October when 5 of us, me, Nate, Caleb, and Sean, decided to head out for a few days of isolation. Nate mentioned he was bringing along a new friend he'd met recently named Eric. None of us had met Eric before, but Nate assured us he was an experienced hiker who knew the rugged Oregon wilderness better than anyone. When we met Eric at the trailhead, something felt off immediately. He was average looking, but his eyes were incredibly still, cold, and unblinking. He didn't talk much. When we greeted him, he just gave a short, stiff nod. His pack was massive and seemed unusually heavy for a 3-day trip. From the very first mile, Eric's behavior started making us feel uneasy. We set up camp on a flat ridge near the summit. As we sat around the campfire that night, Eric sat away from us, facing the dark tree line instead of the fire. He didn't join in our jokes. He just sat there, staring into the pitch-black woods and whispering under his breath. When Sean asked him what he was saying, Eric turned and looked at him with a gaze of pure disdain. He simply said, "People from the city don't realize what's actually watching you from those trees." Later that night, as we were settling into our tents, I heard a metallic sound from outside. It sounded like steel scraping against stone. I unzipped the tent flap just an inch and peered out. Eric was sitting by the dying embers of the fire. In his hand was a massive hunting knife. He was slowly running a sharpening stone over the blade. In the moonlight, the steel glinted sharply. But the scariest part was his face. He was staring directly at our tent with a twisted, hollow grin. I woke up at exactly 3 a.m. The air inside the tent felt heavy. I rolled over and saw Nate and Sean were dead asleep, but I felt a presence outside. I looked at the thin fabric of the tent. Illuminated by the moonlight was a long, dark shadow leaning over our door. It wasn't moving, it was just standing there, hunched over, listening to us breathe. I froze, paralyzed with fear. After about 10 minutes, the shadow drifted away. I gathered enough courage to unzip the door and look out. Eric was walking in a slow, perfect circle around our tents. In one hand was the knife, in the other was a small notebook. He was muttering something while glancing at our tents. I shook Nate awake and pointed. Nate's face went white. He whispered, "Ryan, I only met Eric at a cafe 2 weeks ago. I don't actually know anything about him." At sunrise, we decided to call off the trip. Eric's behavior was too predatory to ignore. While Eric went down to the creek to fetch water, Nate managed to snag the notebook Eric had left near his pack. When we opened it, our hearts stopped. Every page was filled with photos of the 4 of us, taken from a distance. Under each photo were our names, blood types, and detailed notes on our sleep patterns and when we were likely to be alone. But the most terrifying discovery was on the last page. There was a photocopy of an ID card. The name on the ID was Eric von Lawrence. Sean quickly checked a downloaded database of local news on his phone. He found a match in an Oregon missing persons and fugitive list. The face was identical to Eric's, but the name listed was Alexander Smith. The report stated that he had escaped from a high-security mental asylum 5 years ago and was wanted for targeting hikers and stealing their identities. As we were frantically packing our gear to run, Eric emerged from the trees. He wasn't carrying any water. He only had the hunting knife. He looked at us with a calm, terrifyingly flat voice and said, "You shouldn't have looked in the notebook. That wasn't part of the plan. I wanted you to go in your sleep without the pain." Eric lunged toward us. We dropped our heavy packs and sprinted down the mountainside.
That run through the dark pine forest and over jagged rocks was the most terrifying moment of my life. Eric was behind us, moving through the brush with the speed of an animal. He was screaming our names, but his voice didn't sound human anymore. It was a distorted, guttural shriek. We reached the main highway just as a forest ranger jeep was passing by. We flagged them down, screaming for help. When the rangers returned to the campsite with us later that morning, Eric was gone. The notebook was gone. The only thing left were our tents, shredded down the middle with long, jagged blade marks.
The police investigation revealed that the Eric Nate had met didn't exist. There was no record of him. Whether he was truly the escaped Alexander Smith remains a mystery, as he was never caught. Nate still carries the guilt of inviting a predator into our lives. I still check my locks 3 times every night before bed, because 1 month after that trip, I found a small sharpening stone sitting on my front porch, the exact same stone Eric used to sharpen his knife that night in the woods. Sometimes we let strangers into our lives, thinking they're just looking for a friend. But remember, the person you invite to sit by your fire might just be waiting for the embers to die out so they can take everything you have. The next time a friend brings someone new along, make sure you know exactly who they are.